These officers did not look at Mario Woods as a human being. They looked at him in that instance as an animal. In fact, worse than an animal, because a dog would not have been shot at 40 times. You know as well as I that a white male on Lombard Street or Castro Street, if he were Mario Woods on Lombard Street or Castro Street, the whole city, the community, and the world would be outraged. But the silence among some has been deafening. It should never have taken the mayor of this city 5 days to speak. He has never even offered condolences to this mother. A month later, she has not heard from this man.
Why?
Something's wrong. Something's not just wrong, something's very wrong. When a mother can't get a call from the father of this city. And then the mayor came out and said the answer is tasers. Please wait. If tasers were in the hands of those officers with the mind that they have, if one shoot, we all shoot, then Mario Woods would have been electrocuted on December 2nd. The Police Officers Association has helped create a climate of impunity where you can do wrong and we will ride with you, defend you regardless. And anyone who speaks out in a balanced way will be threatened, will be ridiculed, will be disregarded and run the risk of gaining the ire of the police union. This is wrong. This is not healthy. And apparently, as I conclude, there's this culture, this anti-black, anti-woman, anti-community of color culture within the San Francisco Police Department.
Yes!
And the question has to be asked, does the POA speak for you?
Right.
And we need to hear some good officers say in a chorus, you do not speak for us. Otherwise, the POA is telling us what the culture of SFPD is. And the chief, unfortunately, by any good leader, the Chicago model is correct in calling for an independent investigation.
Tell it.
For bold initiative, and we thank those supervisors, Cohen, Supervisors Campos, and Supervisors Avalos who will share with this community resolutions. We thank you for your compassion.
Thank you.
The chief has presided over these affairs. He was the chief when we lost Kenneth Harding Jr. And he told us that Kenneth Harding Jr. shot himself. And we watched a young man on the ground gasping for air for 28 minutes and nobody called a paramedic or gave him emergency care. Something's wrong. Very wrong. Something's wrong. And what we have to understand and recognize that when TextGate came out and the department knew about it in 2012, it's not good enough to say we didn't know. That we can't let go because the chief has eroded our confidence. He lied to the world and said Mario Woods threatened these officers.
Liar.
And made moves to threaten these officers, and that's why he was shot. And at a community forum with a wounded community, when he was asked by a community member, what could have been done differently that night, Chief, or that day that could have prevented this, the chief said, in essence, he should have dropped the knife. Very cold, very insensitive, because we now learn there are things that could have been done. Restraint could have been given or shown. And this is why it's so important that the Chicago model be followed. Mayor Rahm Emanuel, when these tapes came out, and of course we can question cover-up, but the real point for this meeting is Rahm Emanuel fired his chief. It's not personal. But the chief, from the community's perspective, has to go.
That's right.
Secondly, these officers are not above the law.
Right.
They're law enforcement. But none of us can get away with what those officers did on camera.
Come on.
So those officers should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But at the very least, these officers should not go back to work as we have now back to work. You have to take on George Wallace's spirit in reverse. As George Wallace stood at the gate in an act of evil to stop black people from going to school in defiance of federal law, this city has to say unequivocally, these officers in their racist, homophobic, anti-woman, anti-black rants will never come back to work. These are bold steps that you can take that will give this community a measure of confidence that you hear the cry of Mario Wood's mother and all of these mothers in the black and brown community whose blood has been spilled, but they're no longer forsaken because we have taken on their fight and we plan to fight until justice rolls down.
Richard and Reverend Brown, I really appreciate you taking this opportunity. This is a really important issue, not only to me, but of course to the community. And we will be finishing up our roll call because I know that Supervisor Campos and Avalos has something to say in terms of their resolution. But I would like to read a statement from Supervisor Cohen, who asked me to read a statement about this issue since she was not able to join us today. I would like to again offer my sincerest and deepest condolences to the mother and family of Mr. Mario Woods. Your loss is tremendous and one that a growing number of families across the country are coming to know all too well. We will need an objective, independent investigation into the shooting because there are too many questions surrounding the circumstances of this incident. More importantly, the community is asking for an impartial look into this matter. President Obama's task force on the 21st century policing recommends independent investigations be performed in any officer-involved incident that results in serious injury or death. Right now, the community is struggling to have confidence in our police department, and we have a lot of work to do to restore the community's trust. Requesting an independent investigation is a good faith effort to help restore this confidence. What has angered so many in the community was the imbalance of proportionality of force that was used against Mr. Woods. There have been many questions about the level of force used and whether it was necessary. I believe the various videos that are in the public will help provide the answers to these questions. This disproportional level of force used, rebuilding community trust and transparency. These are all reasons why we need third-party, impartial, fair, and objective, independent investigation parallel to the existing 3 investigations that are being performed by the city agencies. That is a statement from Supervisor Cohen, and with that, I want to, at this time, turn it over to Supervisor Campos, who will offer a resolution as well. And I, again, thank everyone for being here. And I am committed, as I said, to getting this thing done, to digging deep into the problem and making sure this does not happen to another person in the city. Supervisor Campos. Not yet, sir. We're on roll call for introductions, and we'll be at public comment after 2 more supervisors speak. Supervisor Campos.
Thank you, Madam President. And if you can add me to the sponsor of your resolution calling for an independent investigation. A number of us have spoken about the need to do that, and I think it's important for the entirety of the Board of Supervisors to be on record. Ms. Woods, I want to thank you for being here. And for me, the introduction of this resolution was a very personal thing. I have to say that part of me hasn't really known how to respond to the tragedy as it has unfolded. And this resolution came out of a conversation that we had with the community that involved you at a meeting of this amazing coalition. And what struck me when I spoke to you, Ms. Woods, is first of all, the composure, the compassion that, notwithstanding what you have gone through, you demonstrated for another mother who was in that audience who also had suffered a loss. And what struck me and what was really painful and ultimately led me and Supervisor Avalos to bring this resolution forward was, quite frankly, the way in which the city and county in San Francisco has treated you and your family after everything that happened. It really bothered me that, and I want to thank, by the way, individual members of this board, President Reed, Supervisor Cohen, actually have made personal comments to you. I know Chief Sir has done that as well, but it was important for me that we collectively, as a Board of Supervisors, we're on record as saying we are sorry for what happened. And what is disturbing, and I'll be honest with you, I wish that I had done more, is that it is not the first time that I've had to say this to the parent of someone who has been involved in the use of force by police. I had, unfortunately, the same conversation with the parents of Alex Niembo. As was the case with you, did not find out about what happened to their son until a day or 2 later. And who never really got approached by the mayor to offer condolences. And what struck me the most about what you said today is this: that what happened with your son is not an isolated incident. Other things happened. And what I wonder is, if we had gotten it right with Alex Nieto, if we had gotten right with Amilcar Perez, would we be here today? And that's why not only is it important in this resolution, and I want to thank President Reed and Supervisor Cohen, this is going to be heard on the 21st, this resolution that Supervisor Avalos and I are introducing And I want to thank the co-sponsorship of Supervisor Marr, Supervisor Kim, Supervisor Cohen, and President Bree. But beyond remembering your son who has become a symbol, what this resolution does, and this is to me the most important thing that we can do as a Board of Supervisors to honor the memory of your son and the symbol that he has become, is that it puts the Board of Supervisors, if this board passes this resolution, on record for the very first time saying officially that we need comprehensive police reform in San Francisco. That a few months back, Supervisor Avalos had a resolution that essentially tried to make the point that our revered leader from the community, former Supervisor Amos Brown, made, which is that as wonderful as San Francisco is, the issues that we saw in Ferguson are happening in the city and county of San Francisco today. At that point, the Board of Supervisors did not pass that resolution. My hope is that with this resolution that we're introducing today, we have the opportunity to right that wrong by saying, yes, we in San Francisco have to deal with the issue of race. Yes. We in San Francisco have to build the trust of communities of color when it comes to our police department. And we not only must have an independent investigation, because it is important to know what happened in this case, but I think we have to go beyond that. It's more than just an independent investigation about what happened with Mario Woods. We need to change the system. My co-sponsors of this resolution, I know that Supervisor Avalos, who has been working on this with me, has a few words. I want to thank my colleagues for what they have said. And let me say this, that policing is a public trust. It is a real public trust. And it's something that is critical to the life of a neighborhood, of a community. I used to be on the police commission, and I can tell you that at the end of the day, a police department is only as effective as the trust that it has of the communities that it serves.
Also say that I'll be a co-sponsor to your resolution calling for federal investigation I believe there are other instances where such an investigation is necessary. Right now, the case against the officers who have been involved in officer-involved shooting for Alex Nieto, that case is in trial. And there are other cases that need to be looked at. The case of Amilcar Lopez Perez as well. So I do think that this case, Mario Woods, is just an example. I also want to thank Gwen Woods for being here. And it's unimaginable to me what you are going through, and I am very impressed with your courage and your strength to be here, knowing how your heart is right now. I have the smallest glimpse of what you are experiencing, the smallest glimpse. I was on guard when I saw the video, and my heart broke. I wept right there on the train to see how someone could be treated this way. And your presence here, Ms. Woods, is a reminder to me, and hope to all of us here, that we work for the city and county of San Francisco. And the city and county of San Francisco is not the city departments. It's not the police chief. It's not the police department. It's the people of the city and county of San Francisco. is that we work for you, and our police department works for all of us. And to think that officers could commit such an act that looks so much like a firing squad.
That's right.
With complete impunity, to have their jobs back and to be, as I hear today, on the force, working with pay, is absolutely stunning to me.
Unacceptable.
I did not issue an apology to you. I have said my apologies, and it completely insufficient. But I'm really hoping today that all of us can sign on to making an official policy. Something dreadfully wrong happened to your son, to you, and our communities here in San Francisco. And to think that that video could be something that is, we were following protocol is absolutely ridiculous. My first reaction when I saw the video was someone needs to apologize right away. And that never happened. And then when I saw that tasers were being promoted all over again as a solution to this, without an apology, I just thought that something was really awry here in San Francisco. Or I was reminded about how awry things were. Because yes, last year in December of 2014, I had a resolution that was actually looking at how we could be mindful of how race is an issue here in San Francisco as well. And we have a lot of disputed cases of officer-involved shootings affecting communities of color in the city. But that resolution was not supported here for the city council. Now we have a climate where it is supported. And I don't think we need to come back to bringing that resolution forward. I believe we actually have calling for an investigation, issuing an apology, and calling for institutional police reform in San Francisco are sufficient. But we actually can't let this moment pass. This moment cannot pass without there being conclusive change in San Francisco. And it's not going to be large demonstrations, but actually rolling up our sleeves and working together, talking and dialoguing with each other to come up with real solutions that we can all agree with. It can't be a top-down approach. So I look forward to being part of that effort, part of that discussion. I thank President Breed and Supervisor Cohen for their work on bringing this call for a federal investigation forward. And I want to work with you on that, make sure that the community is involved and apprised at all parts of the discussion around these measures. So again, I do want to apologize for how the city has treated you, for the killing of your son. That is so hard to say. But this is something that should never happen again. And we have the power to change that. So, thank you. I'm not sure if other people want to speak on this. I believe it might be my turn for introduction of other items.
I think Supervisor Kim wanted to make some comments before we move on. Yes.
Thank you, President Breed. I also just wanted to join in on behalf of the Board of Supervisors to personally apologize on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco. I still haven't watched the video. I haven't watched the video of Oscar Grant, of Eric Garner. I can't watch someone really die on video. This resolution that's been introduced by the board, of which I'm a co-sponsor, says that on December 2nd, 2015, Mario Woods, a 26-year-old African-American resident of San Francisco, was shot and killed by the San Francisco police officers. But he was killed and shot by the City and County of San Francisco. And as we talk about an independent federal investigation with his support, as we talk about moving forward, I think that we have to all acknowledge our role in the murder of Mario Woods. One of the hardest parts of this job for me is that I know I support a system in which there is inequity and violence. When we talk about police brutality and police homicide, we're actually talking about government-funded force and homicide. We in fact live in a system, in a society where we have accepted that the murder of some black men are necessary, in fact, for our safety. That it is an unfortunate consequence to keep our cities and communities safer. I think many of us, in fact, have accepted that. And we need to do much more than that. Every year, I vote on a budget that supports the training of our police officers that tell them to kill and shoot. So we may blame these individual officers and say that it's the rogue, racist police officer that's out there. But we fund and train these individuals. And so it's a lot more than an investigation. I mean, we here locally as a body, we are accountable for SMPD's action. It is not just the police officers themselves. I stand and oppose many of the statements that have been made by our Police Officer Association. In fact, I was the only candidate running for the Board of Supervisors in 2014 that turned down their endorsement. Because I don't stand with the statements that they've made that race had nothing to do with Ferguson, that race had nothing to do in Staten Island and in Baltimore. We know that race matters in this country, and yes, we can say that all lives matter, but we know that it's often not been true that Black lives matter. So, Mrs. Woods, I want to thank you so much for being here today, because you don't have to be here today. You, more than anyone, understand the injustice. I'm here in the city, and I personally have felt that through your loss, and there is nothing. There's nothing that will bring your son back. So, I know that we all talk a lot about reform, and I've talked about it too, and that is why we've fought against the jails, against mass incarceration. What they know do not make our neighborhoods safer. But I just want to know that my heart is with you, along with many members of this board, and that I'm committed to this change. And this change is very hard. I'm not going to say that it's going to happen this year, but I know that I'm accountable too, that we funded this. That this is what the government did, that we accept this as what keeps our neighborhood safer. And I'm saying today that that's not something that we can continue to do, that we have to fund something very different. And it's not just in our police officers. This isn't about being anti-police, because these are the resources and training that we need. And so we can do more than that. And so I really look forward to working with you, but I do want to send and give you my deepest condolences and apologies for what has occurred.